Hi guys, welcome. Hope you're all doing good and I hope your preparation is on track. Now, last week was the budget week. So, we had released a very exclusive video on the budget. Okay, it was not that we were taking a break. All the articles that were coming were on the budget, and since we had done an exclusive video on the budget, it was redundant to make the videos again on the same topics. Hence, there was no video because we had taken the efforts to create a video exclusively on budget. Okay, so the reason I'm clarifying this is a lot of students had messaged showing their concern that why is it discontinued. It is not discontinued. Don't worry about it. Okay, the initiative will always keep running. There may be few breaks in between, but I'll make sure that you'll not miss out on any articles. Okay, so I hope you like the budget topic and I hope you have made notes on that. You can use it exclusively for your mains answer writing as well as the programs. Learn about the programs that you can use in your prelims preparation. Okay, so today also, along with this 5th and 6th February important articles, whatever few articles that were there even in the previous days, I've also added in this today's session itself. So I will not miss out on any important articles that will help you in your preparation at all. So don't worry about it. Okay, believe in the program, but one thing that I want to make it clear is this program should not substitute your newspaper reading. Newspaper reading is an habit that you have to cultivate compulsorily. There is no substitute to it. So please read newspapers and enjoy reading newspapers. Okay, and one more update is I have a special talk on 8th of February in Delhi University. So tomorrow I'll be leaving to Delhi and I'll be coming back on 9th. Okay, so I'll make the video on 9th or I'll make the video on 10th if possible, but I'll make sure that you get all the important articles by the end of 10th. Again, don't have any type of concern. You read the newspaper, understand as much as you can from the newspaper. I will do the rest of it when you tune into news in 30 minutes. That I can assure. Okay, so all I want you people, all I want from your side is one, consistency. Okay, the second is thinking mind. Okay, I want this thinking mind. I don't want mechanical minds, because if you develop mechanical minds, there is very less chances that you will clear this exam. Okay, so with that, let us start off with some of the important issues on the 6th of February, that is today, as well as the 5th and the previous week, whatever a few important articles were there. Okay, but most of the articles in the last week were on budget, so I hope you have seen the budget video. If not, please tune into that. Alright, let us now start off with the important issues on 6th, that is today, and the yesterday's important articles. The first article that we have to discuss is about an organization of United Nations that is known as United Nations Relief and Works Agency. So basically, if you look at this article, India deeply concerned over Israel's allegation of October 7th terror links to UNRWA employees. Okay, so what is happening is this United Nations Relief and Works Agency, the employees of this agency, the allegation is the employees themselves have participated in an attack on Israel. Okay, they have from the side of Palestine, these employees have attacked on Israel. This is the allegation. So India is basically concerned regarding this allegation. The reason why it is concerned is because a lot of countries are funding this agency because they provide relief work. These a lot of countries, including India, provide funding to these agencies, and this agency, if it is using these funds in order to spread terrorism, then it is counter intuitive, or it is completely unproductive and opposite to the objective of the fund. So that is why India is deeply concerned regarding this particular agency. Okay, now from prelims point of view, our importance is to understand what is this United Nations RWA, that is Relief and Works Agency. Okay, as you know, you should know one thing, that it is a United Nations agency, and this is a United Nations agency led for Palestinian refugees. Okay, this is exclusively an agency that is led for Palestinian refugees. Okay, so this is one of a very unique agency, because this becomes unique because it is giving commitment, or it is providing commitment to one group of people. Okay, usually United Nations agencies cover a very broader perspective. For example, a very broad spectrum. For example, if you take Human Rights Commission, they are broadly working on human rights. If you take migration, then they are working across the spectrum of migration on the in the world scenario. But if you take this organization, it is working exclusively for one group of people or one group of refugees, that is Palestinian refugees. Okay, now let us see the background of this from your prelims point of view. So if you take the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, okay, now there was a 1948 war between the Palestinians and the Israel, and following this 1948 war, the UNGA passed a resolution in 1949, and in the resolution that was passed in 1949, this UNRWA was established. Okay, and this UNRWA began its operations. It began its operations in 1950. Okay, so it all started with this 1948 war, where the resolution was moved in the United Nations General Assembly, where this organization or this association was formed, and it was operationalized in 1950. Okay, now next is coming to the funding of this agency. If you talk about the funding, one is almost entirely, the funding comes from voluntary contributions. It comes from voluntary contributions of United Nations member states, and very minimal, that is some funding, minimum funding comes from the regular budget of United Nations. Okay, some funding comes from regular budget of United Nations, but almost entirely the voluntary contributions of United Nations member state. That is why you heard in the headlines, India is deeply concerned. Not only India, several nations are deeply concerned regarding this allegation, because it is these nations that are providing voluntary contributions from their own budget into this particular agency to uplift and help the Palestinian refugees. But when the allegation is the employees of this agency themselves are taking part in terror activities in Israel, that is something of a concern that India is voicing out. Though it is still an allegation, India has voiced out this concern. So I hope you understood the formation or genesis of this organization. You also understood the funding pattern of this organization, and as I told you, this organization is exclusively for the protection, for the relief of Palestinian refugees. Okay, so because it is exclusively and unique for Palestinian refugees, who will qualify as Palestinian refugees? That is the next question. Now it defines within the ambit of this particular agency that whoever is or was having a place of residence, in Palestine between 1st June 1946 to 15th May 1948, whoever was having the residence in Palestine as a place of residence from 1946 of June to 15th May 1948, and who lost their home as well as who lost their livelihood, these are regarded as Palestinian refugees. Not only this, the descendants of Palestinian refugees males, including legally adopted children also are eligible for registration. So even they will come under the ambit of this agency. So I will just summarize the Palestinian refugees. The United Nations RWA, this agency is working for the protection, upliftment, relief of Palestinian refugees. Who qualifies as Palestinian refugees are those who lived in Palestine as at a place of residence between 1st June 1946 to 15th May 1948 and who lost their home and livelihood are deemed as Palestinian refugees. They also include the descendants of these Palestinian refugees who are descendants from the male side. Also, it includes legally adopted children. So all these are qualified or eligible for registration, who can then get benefits from this agency of United Nations Relief and Works Agency, which is the UN agency led for upliftment of Palestinian refugees. This is a unique agency that is placed to cater to a specific group of people, that is the Palestinian refugees. So I hope from the exam point of view you understood this organization. Okay, so with this, let us move on to the next issue of the day. The next issue of the day is Myanmar. Myanmar is making a lot of noise, hence you should have a very important knowledge from geographical point of view, okay, from political point of view. So these are the two dimensions that you have to know what is happening in Myanmar. Geographical we have discussed many a times. Political is what this article deals with. Okay, so first of all, the term Myanmar, they can ask you in the question in the exam also. They have termed Myanmar, or they have termed Myanmar as the sick man of Southeast Asia. They have termed Myanmar as the sick man of Southeast Asia. And what is happening in Myanmar is highly impacting. It is highly impacting its 5 neighbors. It is highly impacting its 5 neighbors. The 5 neighbors are China, India, Laos, Bangladesh, and 5th is Thailand. Okay, so two information that I am trying to give out here in this article is they have created a name called Sick Man of Southeast Asia. So when they say this, it means Myanmar. Myanmar, and it's happening inside Myanmar, is impacting its 5 neighbors: China, India, Laos, Bangladesh, and Thailand. Okay, the next is what is happening in Myanmar. Okay, in Myanmar there was a military coup. This military coup happened in 2021. From that military coup, from then onwards, there has been a triangular architecture. There is a triangular architecture that is developed in Myanmar. So this triangular architecture is between the political class, which had established democracy, and this political class was overthrown by the military. The military which overthrew the political class is known as junta, or it is also called as Tatmadaw. It is known as junta, or it is Tatmadaw. And between them comes another important power struggle between the ethnic groups. So basically the fight is currently happening between these 3 groups in Myanmar. So the political class is represented by the National Unity Government, that is NUT, the National Unity Government, National Unity Government, and its militia. It also has a militia that is fighting currently, and that militia is known as People's Defense Force. Okay, so this is on the political class side. That is, you have National Unity Government along with the militia of this National Unity Government, that is the People's Defense Forces. Okay, and you have the ethnic group. The different ethnic groups have come together to form something called three Brotherhood Alliance. Okay, they have, all the different ethnic groups have come together and formed 3 Brotherhood Alliance, and this 3 Brotherhood Alliance has been successful in overthrowing the military. It has been successful in overthrowing the military along the China border. Okay, they have been successful in overthrowing the military in China border. So that is about the ethnic group. The next is the military or junta or Tatmadaw. Now this is currently handling the power, or it is having the power because it created a military coup in 2021, and this military is not coming in terms. It is not coming in terms for sharing of power. The reason why we tell that it is not coming in terms of sharing of power is, in order to bring some type of stability in Myanmar, ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, came up with something called 5-point consensus. They came up with something called 5-point consensus. However, this military or Tatmadaw has completely rejected the 5-point consensus. Okay, so that is what the ASEAN tried to bring in order to bring some stability in Myanmar, but this is also rejected. That shows that the military, the junta or the Tatmadaw is not ready for any type of dialogues. Okay, now just to give you a glimpse of this ASEAN 5-point consensus. Okay, the first is it asked for immediate end of violence. The second is it wanted to provide dialogue among all parties. The third is it wanted the Myanmar to appoint a special envoy. The fourth is it wanted humanitarian assistance given by ASEAN. And the fifth is it wanted the special envoy's visit to Myanmar to meet all parties. Okay, so these were the 5-point consensus given by the ASEAN to the military, the junta or the Tatmadaw, which was rejected by the military. Okay, now the reason why this tripartite struggle that I tell, the triangular architecture or the tripartite struggle that is happening, is because it is impacting, as I told you, the 5 neighbors and more so to India. Okay, in India is now seeing a lot of distressed migration because of the ethnic violence. We are seeing a lot of tribes crossing over Myanmar crossing over the Myanmar border and entering into Mizoram. Now this has actually hurt or put pressure on this concept called free market regime. Now this free market regime that was running for almost 5 years is now under pressure. Now the Indian government is looking to fence the 1600 kilometers of Myanmar border because of the increasing influx of refugees. Okay, the next is it is creating security risk for India. The reason why I say security risk for India is all these insurgent groups have gone on to the other side of Myanmar and are trying to restack their military arms. They are trying to reinforce their inventory of arms and men, and they are trying to create security problems into India. The third is the drugs problem. As you know, the entire funding of these insurgent groups occurs because of drugs, and this drug problem which is there in Golden Triangle is somehow entering India also. Okay, so these are the 3 important problems that India is facing. One is the influx of migration, the drug problem, as well as the security risk because of the insurgent groups. That is why India needs to take a proactive measure to bring some type of stability in Myanmar. So the author gives a very, very interesting picture of what can be done. The author says that the way forward is India can take up the role of setting up a peace conclave, and this peace conclave should have the tripartite partners that are there in Myanmar. It should have the Quad members in the peace conclave, and it should have the ASEAN Troika. The ASEAN Troika currently includes Indonesia, Laos and Malaysia. So this is a very interesting and innovative measure that the author says that India must take a proactive role in trying to hold a peace conclave that calls for these 3 members. Now this not only will instigate, or it will not only push for peace and stability in Myanmar, which will have a very good effect on India, but also it sends a message to the entire world that India can act as an intermediary. India can act as a mediator in order to bring peace and stability. And such stance may also rub off on several conflicts that are happening across the world, like Russia, Ukraine, or it can be even Israel, Gaza. Okay, so these issues also where India can also take up a proactive role. However, this is a very innovative step that the author has suggested, which shows that India needs to take up the step because it is hurting India more than other neighboring countries because of the instability created in Myanmar. So again, a very, very interesting and beautiful article. So I hope you have made a note of this. Okay, so many questions can be asked from this article from prelims perspective. For example, what is ASEAN Troika? Okay, and the next is they can ask you what is this ASEAN 5-point consensus. The next is who is this Three Brotherhood Alliance? What is this Tatmada? So they can ask you, so don't think that this particular article is just from mains perspective. They can ask you from prelims perspective also. Who amongst the following can be called as sick man of Southeast Asia? That itself can be a question in prelims. So make sure that you always learn from prelims perspective also, from mains perspective also. All right. So this is about this article. So let us move on to the next one. The next one is regarding section 499 of IPC. Now this section 499 of IPC talks about criminal defamation. Okay, now this talks about criminal defamation, and this is also retained in the new Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023. They have retained this criminal defamation in Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023. However, they have retained criminal defamation. After retaining the criminal defamation, they have also added a new punishment under this, and the new punishment under criminal defamation is community service. Okay, so this is a new addition. They have retained the criminal defamation but also added another provision called community service into this particular punishment of criminal defamation. So when this is the issue, the Law Commission of India is looking into the importance of this concept, or this it is looking into the validity of this concept of criminal defamation. So basically there has been a debate between two schools of thought. One school of thought is telling that since we already have punishment for civil defamation and we already have other laws for the breaking of law or the breach of law, criminal defamation is basically suppressing freedom of expression. Criminal defamation is suppressing freedom of expression. So this is one school of thought. So one school of thought feels that the criminal defamation can be used in order to suppress the freedom of expression by a few who have more reach, who have more access to resources, who can use that resources to suppress the speech or expression. So that is one school of thought. The other school of thought says that criminal defamation is very, very important because it protects a very, very sacred thing to us that is known as reputation. So this reputation is something that the Supreme Court has read under Article 21, that is right to life and personal dignity. And because reputation is part of right to life, criminal defamation protects this right, and hence it is a necessity. So these are the two schools of thought. So it was the Law Commission of India which is looking into the validity of should this criminal defamation be there within our penal code, or should we be dispensing of this criminal defamation like many of the countries around the world have done so. So when the Law Commission looked over it, the Law Commission has recommended retaining the criminal defamation within the scheme of criminal laws. The panel suggests that the law be put to use only when there is a cause for substantial harm and such harm materializes. So that is what the Law Commission says. But at the end of the day, the spirit of the recommendation is retaining of criminal defamation. Now, what is the justification that the panel has given is very, very important. The justification given by the panel, that is the Law Commission, can be used in your answers in GS4. Okay. So, one, it says right to reputation. Right to reputation is protected under Article 21. Okay. And it says right to reputation, or it says reputation is an integral facet of Article 21. Okay. It says that any individual can enjoy freedom of speech, but the freedom of speech cannot override freedom of speech cannot hurt any other's reputation. Look at this. This freedom of speech is self, this is others. So the Law Commission has told very beautifully that for the self's freedom of speech, others' reputation cannot be hurt, and that is what is the right to reputation, which is an integral part of Article 21. Now, the Law Commission also further goes on to justify that reputation is something that cannot be seen, it cannot be seen, but can only be earned. Can only be earned. Again, a very beautifully put words. It cannot be seen, but it can only be earned. Okay, it also says reputation is an asset. This is an asset. It is built in the entire lifetime. However, it can be destroyed in the matter of seconds. Okay, that is why, since reputation cannot be seen but only be earned, and since it is an asset that is built over lifetime and can be destroyed in seconds, the entire jurisprudence of criminal defamation, jurisprudence of criminal defamation is to protect the reputation of an individual. So this is how important reputation is placed by the Law Commission of India, and that is why the Law Commission states that it is very, very important for us to protect this reputation. To just repeat it again, because they have put it in a very, very beautiful words, right to reputation is part of Article 21. Reputation is integral facet of Article 21. Freedom of speech of a self should not come at the cost of the reputation of others, and reputation cannot be seen but only be earned. Reputation is an asset that is built through the lifetime but can be destroyed within few seconds. So the entire jurisprudence of criminal defamation is to protect the reputation of an individual, and hence the Law Commission of India has retained this concept of criminal defamation. Okay, so I hope you understood this, and I hope you understood this concept of reputation. You can use this reputation in your GS4. You don't have to wait for them to ask this question. Use this reputation in GS4 in the cases or case studies. Always, whenever they put you in a dilemma, usually in the dilemma, to break the dilemma, use this concept of reputation. Use the same justifications that is given by the Law Commission, but only make sure that you place those words in such a way that you are telling it in the case study, not the Law Commission of India. So if you do that, you'll get very good marks. Very nicely put concept regarding reputation. This is the issue. Let's go to the next issue. The next issue is another concept called micro credentials. Okay, so this author is trying to bring this micro credentials into the higher education ambit in India. So the author says that it is a very right time to put or to introduce this concept of micro credentials into higher education, because we are bringing the values of National Education Policy 2020. Okay, so now let us look at what is this micro credentials first. Okay, you need to understand what is this micro credentials. So basically, credits. Whenever you finish a course, you will get some type of credits. So in your, let us say, engineering or in your college, whenever you have taken, let us say, 8 subjects will be having some specific credits depending upon the marks that you get in these 8 credits. So in the same manner, if you take the concept of micro credits, micro credits also work in the same manner. So basically, one, they are short duration learning activities. The second is they focus on specific learning outcomes. The third is they can be validated. Through standard and reliable assessment. The next is they can be offered through physical or online or hybrid. Okay, the next is they can be offered at various levels. It can be given at various levels, that is, it can be given at beginner level, at intermediate level, and at advanced level. Okay, and then it can be designed, it can be basically designed for lifelong learners. Okay, it can be designed for lifelong learners. So this is what is micro credits. Okay, I'll repeat it. Micro credits is basically tuned for short duration learning activities. The best example for this is Coursera. Okay, Coursera. If you go to this website, you will find a lot of courses. Basically, if you finish this course, you get kind of certification. So here, instead of certification, you get something called micro credits. So you can keep accumulating this micro credits that will have some type of value, maybe in search of job market, maybe in search of any type of mobilizing of funds, or trying to start a new venture. In any way, these credits will have certain type of value. But what is this micro credits hold? One, in order to earn this micro credit, it is something to do with short duration learning activities. The next is, these micro credits will always have some specific learning outcomes. It can be artificial intelligence, it can be learning Python, it can be learning digital marketing. So it can be anything like that. The next is, it is validated by standard and reliable assessment. So there has to be a third party assessment that says that the design of the course is up to the standard of the market. The next is, it is offered physically also, online also, or hybrid. That is, you can take a mix of both physical and online. The next is, it is offered at various levels, beginner, intermediary and advanced, and it is designed for lifelong learners. Okay. Now the reason why this micro credits is being spoken is the National Educational Policy 2020 is something that talks about skill. Okay, the skills or skill education in National Educational Policy should be given from the school level to higher educational level. So this is what is National Educational Policy 2020. So this skill education that should be given to the school level to higher educational level, this can be done via the concept of micro credit. That is what the author says. Okay, now look at this. The author also beautifully tells that in higher educational institutions, okay, now two concepts have come up, that is National Credit Framework. We have discussed what is this National Credit Framework also. National Credit Framework. Okay, this, and also another thing that has come is the Academic Bank of Credit. So the student will go on completing certain learning outcomes. As the student will keep accumulating learning, whenever the student will keep surpassing a particular learning outcome, the student will earn credits, and these credits are stored in a digital format in the Academic Bank of Credits. So these are the two verticals under higher educational institutions that helps in making our higher educational institutions more diverse and making it more skill oriented. Okay, so the author says, why don't we bring the micro credit concept into this National Credit Framework, and the student can now make sure that the student can take up short duration learning activities, and after, let us say, short duration learning activities, after the student will come up with the outcomes, or let us say the student is able to pass with certain standard, then the credit that is particularly earned from this particular microcredit is also digitalized in the Academic Bank of Credit. So that is again an innovative way of by using this concept of microcredit, not only are you enriching the higher educational institutions, but also you are realizing the value of National Educational Policy 2020. So this is a very interesting manner in which the author tells how we can add more value and bring more diversity in learning, in especially the higher educational institutions, by making use of this microcredit. So I hope you understood this concept. Micro credentials, the next chapter in higher education. If this micro credentials can be integrated with National Credit Framework, and it can be then digitized into the Academic Bank of Credits, then it is a very, very innovative way of creating a short-term learning activity to make sure a person is learning some outcomes that can turn into credit, which can be digitized and put into this Academic Bank of Credits. So again, an interesting concept that you can use in your answers. So let us go on to the next issue of the day. The next issue is about the nutrition. This model is a very beautiful model that is started by Uttar Pradesh in order to tackle nutrition. See, there are always few models that are very, very good that you should know at the back of your head. The first is the PDS model. If you take the PDS model, you can take Chhattisgarh, Chhattisgarh and Tamil Nadu. These are the two important states where PDS model is very good. If you take the migrants model, migrants model, okay. Now, if you take the migrants model, you have the Kerala and you have West Bengal. These are very good examples of migrants model. Now, if you take fighting nutrition or bringing on par nutrition, again the model is, as you are studying today, Uttar Pradesh, a very interesting model. If you take SHG, again Kerala model, the Kudumbashree that they started is again a very successful model. If you take Panchayat devolution of power, that is the autonomy of Panchayat, if you take that as the case study, then Karnataka model. Okay, so these are some models that should be there in the back of your head. Whenever in your GS2, whenever they ask the questions, and if it overlaps with these concepts, it surely will overlap with these concepts. So whenever it overlaps with these concepts, under any circumstances, just blindly use this model. Without any second thoughts, you can use this model. Okay. Again, now let us look at this Uttar Pradesh model, a very, very interesting and a very nice model. Now, why is it very nice model is? One, let me just tell you this. This model is very good because one, it is a decentralized model. The second is it helps in women empowerment through self-help group. Okay. The third, it also displays the center state coordination. Okay. The fourth, it also shows that livelihood opportunities can be created by also working on social good. Okay, so these are all some of the takeaways of the UP model. So let me just give you a glimpse of what this is. In 2020, the Department of Women and Child Development came up with the state of UP, the state of UP's rural livelihood mission. Okay, they came up with rural livelihood mission. So these two, that is the center and the state, are coming together to create something called decentralized production of take-home rations. Okay, decentralized production of take-home rations. These take-home rations are created by women enterprises. They are created by women enterprises through self-help group. And once these rations are created by women enterprises by self-help group, they are dropped off. In ICDS, that is Integrated Child Development Centers. They are dropped off, and this can provide nutrition to children. Okay, and it provides around rupees 8,000 as an additional income to each woman. Okay, so before they were actually practicing a centralized model where this ration was created by a private enterprise and this ration was delivered to the ICDS. Now instead of private entity, they have removed the private entity. So the private entity is gone. So the centralization is gone. They have created something called decentralized model where women enterprises are created via SHGs, and they are the ones who will create this home rations and take it to the ICDS. So ICDS will get food in the form of nutrition to children, and women will get money in the form of salary. So very good model. If you see, there are let us say 204 blocks covering around 43 districts in Uttar Pradesh, and for each block they have created something called 204 self-help groups. So these 204 self-help groups have something called 4,000 women. So this 4,000 women, through their women enterprises, they will prepare food ration, and this food ration are then supplied to that relevant block that is there in that particular group. So basically for every block there is self-help group that via women is going to supply the food ration. This is a very, very beautiful decentralized model of a decentralized model that helps both the children as well as women. Okay, again this shows that it has not only benefited 4,000 women but also 12 million ICDS beneficiaries. Okay, so this is another case study that you can use, or a model that you can use for fighting or tackling malnutrition as well as empowerment of women, livelihood opportunities being transformed, livelihood opportunities that can be earned even through social good, and the last is the center state coordination. How with the help of center state coordination they can come up with such very simple innovations that can make the governance very, very innovative. Okay, so this again is very, very good example of a case study that can be used in your GS2. So don't forget to use this. Even if they don't ask, it is up to you and your ambit to push this in the answer. If you don't push this, you are doing injustice to the knowledge that you have. Okay, so I hope you realize the importance of this article. Let us go on to the next article. The next article is a critical view of the sanitation miracle in rural India. The government needs to identify the shortcomings in the existing program if it wants to transform India from open defecation free to open defecation free plus status by 2024-25. Okay. Now, this critical view that the author has given, I am not interested in this, because when the author gives the critical view, the report that the author has stated is not so credible. Okay, now the author, what the author has done is, whenever to cite something positive, the author has used government records or government reports, and whenever to provide the critical view, the author has just told that few report has told, few survey has taken. So when such stance is taken, like few report or any survey or some survey, usually it is not useful to cite this in your mains exam. It becomes very critical and it is not correct. If let us say there is a criticism that is given by any legitimate study, for example in the next article, RBI study itself is going to be critical on Panchayats. So that is a study that is coming from a legitimate institution. In that case, 100% you can use that for criticism. But when the criticism is coming from some very abstract way of telling that there is one report, there are few surveys, then please don't use it. Okay, so I am not going to talk about the critical view in this article, but I am definitely going to talk about the sanitation miracle that has happened in India. The reason why I am going to talk about the sanitation miracle that has happened in India is mainly because of the government report. The government report is what you have to use in your answers. So if the government report is telling that there has been a miracle, you have to state that there has been a miracle. Okay, and that is how it is, and that is how the answer is built. Okay, so let us first talk a few things about the introduction. So basically about sanitation, if you want any introduction regarding sanitation, what you should know is, 1, access to water and sanitation. Access to water and sanitation is goal 6 of Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations. Okay, so the goal 6 is the access to water and sanitation. That is one. In India, we started something called Central Rural Sanitation Program in 1986. This is how everything started. We started something called Central Rural Sanitation Program. Then this transformed into Total Sanitation Campaign. Okay, and this Total Sanitation Campaign took its genesis in 1999. This Total Sanitation Campaign was a demand-driven campaign. Okay, after this came the next 2014, that is Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan Gramin. Okay, so this Swachh Bharat Abhiyan Gramin basically wanted India to be open defecation free by 2019. Okay, so this Swachh Bharat Abhiyan Gramin launched its phase 2 also. This phase 1 worked on open defecation free. Phase 2 worked on something called liquid plus solid waste management. Okay, so if we had ODF, that is opiate open defecation free, plus liquid and solid waste management, together they become ODF plus. So what the government is aspiring for, if you look at this article, the government is aspiring for India to achieve ODF plus by 2024-25. By 2024-25, that is next year. Okay, so by this we have to achieve ODF plus. So ODF plus is open defecation free plus liquid and solid waste management. Put together is what is known as the phase 2 of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan Gramin. Okay, so now you learned about the introduction of sanitation. Now let us learn about the outcomes. As I told you, the outcomes I am focusing only on the positive because the report is government based. Now the first, it says a report according to the government of India. According to the government of India, 85% of villages in India have gone on to become ODF plus. Okay, so that is a good news. Okay, we are almost near. We are in the last final year, so 85% have already achieved the ODF plus. The second is the report given by National Annual Rural Sanitation Survey. Okay, the National Annual Rural Sanitation Survey, round 3, 2019-20. Okay, this National Annual Rural Sanitation Survey, round 3, 2019-20. This has given a very good statistics. 3 important statistics that it has given is: 1, 95% of rural population. 95% of rural population have access to toilets in India. Again, it's a very good thing. It's a very important achievement. The next is 96% of all toilets are functional and have access to water. Okay, that is the second statistics. The next is access to owned, shared and public toilets. Access to owned, shared and public toilets comes up to 79%, shared is 14% and public is 1%. Okay, so this is with respect to the households. Okay, so these are the 3 statistics given by the National Annual Rural Sanitation Survey. Again, I'll repeat, the government of India says that 85% of the villages have achieved ODF plus. So we have 15% more to go and we have 1 more year to go, which is good. The next is the National Annual Rural Sanitation Survey gives 3 important statistics. 95% of rural population have access to toilets in India. 96% of the toilets are functional and have access to water, and access to toilets, owned, shared and public toilets are at the percentage of owned is 74%, shared is 14% and public is 1%. What is really good is the owned percentage is increasing. So the greater the percentage of owning of the toilets, that means the usage also will increase. So we are able to not only bring behavioral change, but statistics wise also the penetration of toilets in rural area is increasing, which shows that India has definitely achieved the sanitation miracle, and this is how I would like to conclude, because the other aspects or other dimensions of critical view does not have a credible report name to suggest it. So with that, this is about the sanitation miracle. Again, you can use this in your GS2 and also you can use this in your GS4. And you can also show that persistent efforts will always result in change even in rural areas. So that is again something that you can use in any essay or any other places. Okay, so this is about this issue. Let us go to the last issue of the day. Okay, the Hindu yesterday also has given one statistics that Panchayats earn only 1% of their revenue through taxes. Okay, now this in the Hindu article they have given this is based on the RBI study. So according to the RBI study, yesterday, that is February 5th, they have given the article that Panchayats earn only 1% of their revenue through taxes. The reason is through their own taxes, they earn 1%. Through central grants, they own the 85%, and to state grants, okay, another 15%. So in the 99%, what is left, it is coming through the central grants and state grants. Central grants forms the 85% and state grants form the 19%. This is the 99% of funding that is coming to our panchayats. As you know, panchayats are basically the grassroots democratic institutions, and if this grassroots democratic institutions have to succeed, then under any circumstances we have to make sure that there is proper devolution of power and they get taxation powers as well. Sorry, devolution of functions. There is proper devolution of functions and there is taxation of power. So these two are something that are interdependent to one another, and according to the RBI study, it says that in panchayats, the reason why they are able to earn so less is because of, one, there is no devolution of functions, and two, there is taxation power is also very less. That is why the panchayats are highly dependent on grants, and they are highly dependent on the central grants for their functioning. So this is yesterday's article. Today's article again tells that it is on panchayat only. It says higher autonomy of panchayats. Higher autonomy of panchayats has led, or it leads to, better health outcomes. Okay, higher autonomy of panchayat has led to better health outcomes. Okay, again this is based on the RBI study. So the articles are coming on the basis of this RBI study. Yesterday they told that 1%, only 1% is the overall income that panchayats get through their own taxes. Others, they are highly dependent on their grants. Today again the RBI study says if you give more autonomy to panchayats, it leads to better health outcomes. Okay, the reason is, one is panchayats usually will collaborate better with health departments. Panchayats will collaborate well with health departments. Okay, in collaborating with health departments, they maintain better clinics and dispensaries. In maintaining this health departments, they will maintain better clinics and dispensaries. The second is the panchayats will encourage institutional deliveries. They encourage institutional deliveries, and they'll also ensure prenatal and postnatal care. Prenatal and postnatal care. This in turn will reduce maternal and infant mortality rate. It will reduce maternal and infant mortality rate. The third one is they also help in providing clean water and sanitation facilities. Okay, so overall this is how the higher autonomy you give to panchayats, they perform better, especially in health outcomes. Okay, so I hope you can use this as a case study. I'll tell you now. See, the same study says that panchayats like Tamil Nadu, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Karnataka and Maharashtra, these are places where there are high scores on nutrition and sanitation. There are high scores on nutrition and sanitation, and there are low scores on IMR and MMR, that is infant mortality rate and maternal mortality rate. The reason is because of greater autonomy. So the overall takeaway is, if you want to improve the governance, plus if you want to improve the outcomes, the social outcomes, if you want to improve the social outcomes and if you want to improve the governance, then two things that you need to do on panchayats. Every state has to take this as a case study and do it. The two things are, one, you have to devolve more functions. Okay, you have to devolve more functions to panchayats, and you have to provide them more taxation powers. So when you devolve more functions and provide more taxation powers, that translates in the form of autonomy, so that they can work more closely with the grassroots level and bring more changes in the governance as well as the social outcomes. Now this case study can be the health outcomes. The RBI study gives the case study of health outcomes, but in general this is the key takeaway. So this is another beautifully written article that shows how to improve the governance by following a bottom up approach, or how to improve the governance by following the principle of subsidiarity. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. Again, very good articles that are written from mains perspective. This you should treasure and you should use this in your answers to make sure that you enrich your answers and show the examiner how mature your way of analysis of an issue is. Okay, so I hope it was helpful. If you liked this video or enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Okay, again, you don't have to worry or show concern regarding the program. The program will always be there. It is just that because of my commitments with certain programs, I may take 2 or 3 days where I'll club everything and give it to you together, like as I'm doing it today. But please don't have any type of concern. You focus on reading the newspaper. Any type of dots in your newspaper, I am there to cover it up. Okay, however, don't substitute reading newspapers. You have to read newspapers. So please keep doing it. Alright, thank you so much guys for tuning in. Thank you so much for showing all the concerns. I appreciate your love. Please make sure that you like, share and subscribe. I'm going to see you next on 10th of February with all the important articles. Okay, I'm going on a talk for Delhi University. So please wish me luck and thank you for all the love and support guys. I'll see you on 10th. Bye.